Today we have four panelists offline and two panelists online for different reasons. But still, the added value will be immense, I promise you. So we have offline, we have Margarita from DJ Agri, we have Thomas from International Association of Insurance for Agriculture Sector, we have Marie from Hapmer, and we have Zina from CCR, so the French Caisse Centrale de Restaurants. Yeah. We selected a couple of topics which should be really important for this topic. So the first one is affordability of agriculture insurance for farmers. Then we have additional topic which is dedicated to concrete innovative solutions, like for example, pharmaceutical insurance for farmers. And then we have additional topic on how adaptation measures could be and should be also embedded into the existing services for farmers. We have additional area for discussion, and where I will ask Linda then to help us to navigate through EU taxonomy, because not always sustainability means resilience, and then we will ask Linda to help us here. And I think we have also an additional topic where we have to understand the roles of different stakeholders and how they have to interact with each other, and why it's important at the end. We have also selected a couple of statements, and those statements belong to you, to each of you. They will help us to navigate and to build up like a common logic, and it will serve like a challenge to you and to, let's say, to provoke a discussion. So let me start with the first topic, which is affordability. And here I will start maybe with you, Margarita, because we have selected one statement from Wikilow to you, where effective solutions require more than subsidies, public-private risk sharing, incentives for on-farm risk reduction, and effective communication to raise awareness and increase demand. So this is your statement. So maybe you have more like thoughts, arguments, and information that could be supportive for this statement. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I want to say, first of all, that yes, I work in DG Agri, and I follow the fight on this risk management under rural development, so under Pillar 2 of the Common Agricultural Policy. But I also, on the side, I'm doing a PhD on risk management in agriculture, and I mostly focus on what are like the factors that drive the demand for agriculture insurance by farmers. What I've been gathered through, let's say, both my work at DG Agri, so from the policy perspective side, but also from the academia side, is that there is a clear issue regarding the uptake of risk management tools by farmers, especially when it comes to insurance, but also when it comes to mutual funds or what is called income stabilization tool. And because, for example, under the Common Agricultural Policy, since 2014, there has been support for farmers' uptake of these tools under rural development. So this means that the member states had the possibility to support farmers' uptake of these tools through subsidies. But this was voluntary. It's still voluntary under the current Common Agricultural Policy for member states, and consequently also for farmers. And still, but we've seen that even for the member states who decided to support risk management tools, then still the uptake by farmers was super low. Like for this Common Agricultural Policy, we've seen that the target was 15% coverage across all the EU member states, but in reality, it's 1.6% up to now, so it's very, very low. And let's say that then like it comes that naturally to ask why there is still like even if there's in subsidies, even if there was an incentive from Europe, but also from the member states themselves, still why farmers don't uptake these tools. And so it means because like some discussions always start from like the very basic let's say thing that insurance are costly, and this is of course like insurance are costly, and this is one of the major problems. But then it cannot be the only one, because then if you subsidize, and we've seen that also with subsidies, then still their uptake is low. And this is also like it comes like if you look at the scientific literature, there's been lots of research on this, and not only on agriculture, but in general, even when insurance is subsidized, people, individuals, farmers still don't uptake it. And so why? And there are many reasons, and some reasons could also be related to the fact that there is not a clear division between what comes ex post and what comes ex ante. So what is the distinction between risk and crisis management? And probably this has not been really communicated by the Commission in the last year and in the current period, because farmers still rely a lot on what is called ex post disaster payments. So the payments that comes after a disaster. And so if we don't leverage on the fact that there should be like a really different line, like a division between risk and crisis, then probably farmers could not understand that they have to take ex ante measures before like relying only on ex post disaster payments.
Okay, thanks. Let's keep maybe the Q&A session, and then maybe we'll take some questions from the audience at the very end. Now I'm going to pass the floor to Sina, because we're still at the question of affordability. And as far as let's say, I know you're heading the emergency, let's say emerging risk stream. You're mostly dealing with the climate insurance gap analysis and with PPP schemes. So from your point of view, we also selected one statement, let's say, which is really we think would let's say within our team, me, Maria, and then Paul, that resonates with this topic. And it says like the French net cash system, a balance of public and private, has been a success. The state provides guarantees, but the goal isn't to socialize risk. The system works because all the stakeholders, they work together. So then maybe you have some additional information that maybe to explore more and to provide me more justification for that outcome.
For sure. For sure, it's a French word now used by our president. So my name is Sina Nasseri. I'm the head of emerging risks at CCR. CCR is the French public reinsurance company, established in 1946, right after the Second World War. And since 1982, the French government has created what we call the French Nat Cat scheme, which means in a nutshell that there is a mandatory coverage for natural catastrophe or each property policy issues in the French market. And in exchange, CCR is providing reinsurance capacity to prevent insurance companies from bankruptcy. So the NatCat scheme for CCR represents 95% of our premium collection. We also have public coverage for terrorism and the third-party liability for nuclear operators. And on top of that, we manage 5 public funds, and one of them is the Fonds National de Gestion des Risques Agricoles, which means the National Fund for agri-risks. So if I had to comment a little bit about my quotes and my perimeter, first of all, what we call emerging risks at CCR is all the risks which are not currently covered by the French government and by CCR. Natural catastrophes only for property and motor own damage under this scheme. And therefore, agribusiness falls into my perimeter of work. That's the reason why I'm sitting here. I could have seated to the next, to the previous panel as well, in discussing about natural catastrophe and properties. Now for every business. And now, what we mean by skin the game, it means it's a poetic way to say if someone wins, everybody wins. If someone loses, everybody loses. In other words, look at the private-public partnership as this game called Jenga, made of wooden blocks. The game, the purpose of the game is to remove the wooden blocks. But in the case of the private-public partnership, it's not a game. So if you remove one of the blocks, everything collapses and doesn't work anymore. So each stakeholders has a role to play. Policyholders pays the deductibles. Insurance companies deliver capacity. Reinsurance providers provides reinsurance capacity, and the states is providing a limited capacity, which makes the scheme very attractive. So that's for natural catastrophe. And the state thought in 2022 to apply the same for every business in a certain way. So as I told you, we have a public fund that we manage. And the purpose of this fund initially was both to subsidize insurance for farmers, for crop and harvest, and to pay claims. The thing is, the government came to the conclusion that the insurance penetration was very low for farmers, and they decided to reform the system. In 2023, the government decided to reshuffle everything and to create a unique system built with, let's say, 3 stages. So the first stage is for low severity claims with losses below 20% of average production, and it is only paid by the farmers. Then you have the second stage, significant claims for losses ranging from 20 to 30% of the average production, and that's the insurance market paying for the claims. And then you have the third stage with exceptional claims for, let's say, a loss above 30 to 50% of the average production. And the rest is paid by the states. In case you don't want to buy any insurance, then it is your choice as a farmer, but you will not benefit from any public aid from below, let's say, 50% of your losses. So the government will be paying for your claims above 50% of your losses. And so it's an incentive to buy insurance. And now let's see if it works or not. So the results are so-so. So the mechanism entered into force in 2023. There was indeed an increase of policies from 70% to 24% in France. And now we have reached a plateau. It has stabilized. And there are multiple reasons for that. I don't want to sound too technocratic, but we have the concept, there is this concept of Olympic average, and I don't know if you're aware of that, but Olympic average, it's when you have a period of 5 years, that's the case in France, you want to calculate the average, and you exclude the best year and the worst year, and you calculate your average on the 2 remaining years. Because of climate change, the farmers are saying that this way of calculation is too restrictive, it's too severe, and they would like the government to extend the period of calculation of the Olympic year from 5 years to 8 years. 10 days ago, the Minister of Agriculture, the French one, has announced that she has started discussions with Brussels, the European Commission, to extend this period of calculation of the Olympic average. You also have another reason why insurance penetration is not that important, is because the farmers came to the conclusion that insurance companies do not include all the investments made for risk prevention. For example, some farmers, they invested in hay nets, which is quite expensive. And unfortunately, it seems that the private insurers, they do not take into consideration all this investment made in the premium calculation. And therefore, they consider that there is no way in paying both for investment and for insurance. And the last item, I would say, it's because they have another way of thinking, farmers. They think too, let's say, short term. They prefer having savings rather than paying for insurance premium, considering that maybe the loss can happen, an event can happen, or it cannot happen. So they prefer having savings and paying for themselves in case that something happens. So the reform has delivered mixed results. On top of that, it is expected to establish the reinsurance pool in France. The authority for competition has provided the green light, but there are still some ongoing discussions between insurers, the state, reinsurance companies, etc. CCR may have a role to play because we don't know if it will be a public reinsurance pool or a private public reinsurance pool or a pure private reinsurance pool. But we are asked to advise the state in this matter. Having said that, there are some pools existing in agribusiness in the world. We can speak about the Agroseguro in Spain, which is reinsured by El Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros in Spain. You have also in Turkey, Tarsim, which works very well. And I have to say that these two countries are more ahead of time comparing to France. And we would like to engage further and see if we can implement what it has worked in their country in France. So I would say that was my 2 cents about the situation in France. I'm happy to hear your credits.
Okay, then again, we will then keep the questions and in the remarks for the Q&A session at the end. Let's say, thank you for your intervention. What I could add from my side, this is more personal. I know that Sina is also supporting some initiatives for my home country, how to cover, let's say risks in the conflict-affected countries for investors. And my thanks to you just to support and let's say to be on the side of my country. So, but this is just my from my side. Let's say the PPPs. It's not like your let's say story from France or from Turkey. The Germany is also trying to elaborate let's say its own approach to that. And we have also on our call Lucas. Lucas is representing Allianz Agrar, and he's dealing with innovative solutions like parametric insurance. He has also quite extensive experience in like product and project management, and also he was contributing to the system in one of the federal states in Germany. And I think we have also selected one sentence for Lucas is like parametric insurance mechanisms and the automation of those three processes will be one of the main solutions to achieve to close the remaining protection gap. So Lucas, if you will hear us, yeah, the floor is yours to address this or to challenge this statement and maybe provide more information. So over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, we can be you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to also attend online. Sorry for not being there. My name is Lucas Ditten. I'm head of product development at Allianz Agrar, and I would like to add some word to the key challenge of parametric insurance and how parametric insurance mechanisms, in my opinion, can help to achieve the goal of reducing the climate risk, improve farmer resilience, and also make agricultural insurance more economic sustainable. When it comes to the challenges of parametric insurance, I would like to further break it down into three main categories to make it more clear to you. So number one, and I guess we heard it already throughout the day, and I attended a session this morning for project data and risk management. And I think what a key aspect is the availability, quality, and granularity of data to develop parametric insurance solutions. in agriculture, particularly with regard to weather, yield, satellite data. As you know, it's quite a challenge, especially for us as insurance companies to have to get good data at an affordable price and at a level that also helps our clients to understand this data. Maybe also to address it from a technological perspective. As I just mentioned, this requires reliable, transparent, and traceable models to ensure that we can derive appropriate and commercially viable solutions and insights, while at the same time, and I think that is very important, build trust among farmers and the other stakeholders. Without the trust of the farmer, there's no point in implementing any parametric insurance solution. Secondly, I would like to address the farmer's perspective a little bit. And I think there the main challenge is the acceptance and also the understanding of parametric products, as these can differ significantly from traditional indemnity insurance products. We experienced particularly this in the past by trying to implement a new parametric insurance product covering basically like a yield insurance, and the take-up was just not there because in our opinion the product was just not understandable, but also probably lacked some transparency from our side, and I think that's very closely related. So the expectation of farmers that we as insurance companies must demonstrate the willingness to also communicate transparently and share the relevant data that we use for those products with the farmers. And lastly, the state. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think data is key to develop these solutions. The state also plays a key role in the provision and standardization of data, as well as the harmonization of subsidy schemes to reduce the cost due to lack of efficiency. So I think these are the three main challenges that we deal with when it comes to parametric insurance solutions. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Lucas. Again, we will keep all the comments and maybe some inputs from the audience for the, let's say, for the Q&A session. And now I'm going to maybe move a bit towards let's say, incorporation of some adaptation measures into the insurance services. And I'm going to pass the floor to Madi. And Madi is I already mentioned, is representing ACMEA, and you're leading the stream on greenhouse horticulture. So, but as far as we know, within our team, that you have also like deep-rooted, let's say, sense of farmer, let's say, of being a farmer and having a, let's say, farming as a business in your family, so that you have like a very specific, let's say, link to that. And we have selected also for you one's statement, and it's like, one cannot invent light bulb by continuously improving that candle. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I'm Marie Groenhoff, and I'm the Global Head of Greenhouse Horticulture with ACMEA. But as you mentioned, my first love is herbal farming. So from that perspective, I'm here today. And I'm very honored to be here with all those bright minds and all those different stakeholders within this process. I'm ensuring health and happiness across the globe, and I'm really honored to do that. But also here we are driven by providing continuity to those growers who day in, day out work very, very hard to provide us with healthy and affordable and safe food. And in a changing climate and quite a geopolitical volatile world at the moment, it's a valuable thing to do and to honor. So what we're all trying to do here is you support that continuity. And as you mentioned, Cabona, from a government perspective, there is a role to play, especially in exposed disasters. But as a government, you don't want to be the sort of the bank or the ATM, but every time something happens, the farmers would relay their minister's risk onto a government. That's sort of the limit of what you can offer.
And from an insurance perspective, I want something that is that the risk can be calculated, but not to the extent that a risk is not a fortuitous event anymore. Because if it's not a fortuitous event, I cannot insure it. And from a farmer's perspective, I don't really care about the hail itself. I care about what an event does to my quantity, my quality, and my price. Now, with all those different elements, I think that we have tried to go through a solution of indemnity insurance through different subsidies, through multi-peril, through reinsurance schemes. And what we see is that we're trying to continuously improving that candle, and it simply doesn't work because it's either too expensive or nobody really understands what we're insuring, or the reinsurance unaffordable because the systemic risk is simply too big because of the regulations that we have to stick to. And all those things are improving a candle. So what I think is basically similar to what Lucas was saying is move away from indemnity insurance and look at something else. Parametric, I do not think it's the solution, sorry, when it comes to, at least not when it comes to a certain peril or a combination of perils. From a farmer's perspective, it would work if I have a fixed benefit payout for something that is close to my business and that is the variability to my revenue. Because in that variable, I have what I do to mitigate my risk on quantity, quality, and price. I have excluded management risk because farmers really do not like to pay for their poor farming neighbors. They want to buy them up, not support them through insurers. And with that, you have the different drivers for an insurance product that is understandable for a farmer. You get a payout or you do not get a payout when your revenue is below a certain level. That also includes and values the variability across farmers, across time, space, age, whatever. It gives governments the opportunity to pose as reinsurers to insurers for those catastrophic loss and then be present and visible to their citizens in their payout. And it gives actually insurers a space to develop a product in an area where they're really good at, and that is pricing commercially a support to the continuity of growers. So my statement again is move away from that candle, and with all those bright minds and pieces of the puzzle, try and develop a light bulb.
Okay, thanks. Noted. Okay, then we're going to move then to the next point that we selected, and it's actually about like the place of climate insurance in our sustainable finance framework. And I'm going to pass the floor to Linda. Linda, if you online, Linda actually was recently appointed like for the third, let's say, selection of the experts and members of the sustainable finance platform. So congratulations from my side, I think from our side. And it's again over to you to maybe provide more insights from your perspective. Well, what's the role and place of climate insurance in sustainable finance framework?
Thank you. I hope you hear me well. I'm having the same issue with noise as you had in the room previously. I hope my mic is not picking that up. So thank you very much, and thanks for the congratulations. Indeed, it has been the last 6 years that I have been working on the development of the European Union Sustainable Finance Framework, meaning the regulations that frame or constitute this framework, including the European taxonomy of sustainable economic activities, including also the disclosure regimes, both the CSRD and the SFDR, and other regulations and standards that relate to them, meaning the EU Green Bond Standards, the ESG benchmark regulation, and similar. So as members of the platform, we work or provide inputs to all of these different regulations. But our core focus really is the EU taxonomy. And as you in the room would be aware that both insurance and agriculture are really interesting topics in the context of the taxonomy and the broader sustainable finance framework. I immediately have to say that including agriculture in the taxonomy directly has been a winding road. And some of you may be aware that we, as the extra group, the platform, they have been working on criteria for agriculture, both from climate mitigation perspective, from biodiversity perspective. And in the last mandate, so in the last 2-year period, the adaptation expert group that I lead within the platform, we identified the highly vulnerable sectors, which are currently not yet included in the adaptation part of the taxonomy, and agriculture came out as the top one vulnerable sector that we really should be focusing on and include on the adaptation objective as a priority. So I have a hope that within the next 2-year period, they maybe move in this direction. Now, we have worked on the criteria from the other objective perspective. These criteria have been published, but we haven't gotten to the point where we have been able to adopt it into the law, and formally, they haven't yet become part of the taxonomy. Now, having said that, however, there are elements in the taxonomy that really help resilience in agriculture and any other sector, in fact. And including the fact that insurance, so non-life insurance, is directly included in the taxonomy of adaptation or resilient enabling activity with very specific parameters, right? So insurance generally plays this really interesting triple role in sustainable finance, where they need to report on their own portfolios as a financial institution. They're also making investment decisions because they hold a lot of capital, which they invest, and they may be using taxonomy to make those investment decisions. But then they also provide these very specific services that in and of themselves are taxonomy activities. So meaning this climate risk insurance, which is non-life insurance, and also reinsurance is included. Now, why is it important to include this as an activity in the taxonomy, and why we thought that this is needed? Well, first of all, because insurance is the main enabler of resilience across all sectors, right? Because there will always be residual risks that we will not be able to address with adaptation measures, or these adaptation measures will vastly outweigh the cost or the cost of damage, and therefore insurance will always have a role in adaptation resilience, and therefore that was kept as a high priority to have that included. Now, the other thing why it's important is to include it in the taxonomy so that we can set certain parameters to determine what counts as good climate risk or peril insurance. Right? And if you look at the criteria that are in taxonomy, you can see that there are a number of things that we wanted to cover and make sure that this is in place when these services are being offered, right? And the things range from avoiding the moral hazard, where everyone over-relies on insurance, by incentivizing the implementation of adaptation measures or preventative risk prevention measures between the participants of the insurance scheme. So it is part of the criteria. So to count as taxonomy-aligned climate risk insurance, you have to have schemes in place where you incentivize the recipients of this insurance or the policy holders to actually implement preventative adaptation measures. So this is how we try to avoid what others already mentioned, insurance becoming this tool that everyone over relies on and may not be able to carry that level of risk that everyone is putting on it. Now, the other aspects are that around transparency of risk data. So there is an expectation for insurance to openly share the information of the climate risk that they have, both with the policy holders, informing them of what risks there are, and in addition to that, informing them on what measures they could take to reduce those risks, but also sharing this hazard data or projected climate risk data with public authorities so they can plan broader resilience measures that may benefit everyone within that area, be it a regional authority, national authority, and maybe a local authority, meaning that anyone who carries that agriculture would benefit from the insurance industry sharing this data, and therefore the whole area using that information to become more resilient. And then there are a couple of other requirements there, but these are really the key ones: incentivizing actually to the action, not only relying on insurance, open sharing of data, and incentivizing or advising your recipients of insurance policies of exactly what they could do to improve their resilience. So now, of course, at the same time, we need to take care that somehow we don't inadvertently cause other sustainability issues with insurance. With insurance, we don't see that there is a big risk, for example, to biodiversity or other environmental objectives. But of course, those safeguards also need to be in place that there's no some unwanted damage to the other objectives. As you rightly said in the beginning, resilience is not only the only way to be sustainable. And when we do something for resilience, of course, we cannot steer into that space of maladaptation where we really care about climate risk, but then we damage other objectives such as increased emissions, for example, or biodiversity loss. So that's what I have to share right now about what our thinking so far has been and how we try to promote adaptation in an area using insurance as one of the enabling factors, and also how we're currently thinking of that agriculture may find its entry into the taxonomy specifically under the adaptation objective simply because it's one of the most vulnerable sectors.
Okay, huge mix. And like the same as for the previous panelists, we will leave a space during our Q&A session to collect maybe additional questions and then maybe remarks. And as in case of Sina, I wanted also to thank you for your support, because LIDA supported also the kickoff of Sustainable Finance Platform in Ukraine. And next month we will have like the first meeting, and the idea is the same, just to kick off the process also in our country. Although we still have this, let's say, very unbearable conditions, but yeah, the idea is to move on with all these things. And yeah, by saying that, I'm going to move now to Thomas, and he's heading let's say the International Association of Agriculture Production Insurers, and also he's heading agro insurance scope and has extensive experience within Verenigde Vagel. So, and your statement relates to the need of having extensive exchange between different stakeholders like policymakers, agriculture, farmers, and insurers, just to have like a exchange of knowledge, information, and be more resilient, to have a shared resilience. So then over to you.
And me, unfortunately, I'm the eldest one on the series. Experience, okay, it's experience. So just regarding. Okay. No, I studied agriculture. I'm coming from a farm. I studied agriculture in Germany and France, and I worked for the European Farmers and Cooperatives Organization. So I'm on the other side of the table, and I'm still expert of the Copa Cultica Working Party on risk management. And when I'm speaking about risk management, I have also in my heart the insurance perspective and the farmer's perspective, and as a father of 3 children, the next generation, and as a taxpayer, how we should fund or support agriculture in Europe and all over the world, because we have a platform called AIG in Zurich, which is a global association collecting the knowledge all over the world, and I started this new function from the 1st of January. My first experience in this organization was attending a conference in China last August, and there we spoke about small and big insurance companies and the speeding up implementing new insurance products, also implementing artificial intelligence in insurance products. And here I think we have, especially also in Germany, but all over Europe, and what you said, Marie, regarding the global discussions we have, US, Ukraine, and the tax policy being resilient, not only regarding energy, also feeding 500 people all over Europe and more than 8 billion in the world, probably as an introduction. And therefore, we have a lot of projects like this, and thanks for inviting me. What I'm always missing in Germany and Europe, it's to come to practice. We are discussing in different DGs, in different roles, insurance, science, but compared to China, so let's start it. I don't have this problem of democracy, of our political system. I wouldn't go and live in China, but what I learned is let's go for it. And regarding agriculture insurance, the Commission did the first steps with this omnibus regulation in December. So now it's about 8 years, not only 5, but it's the right step. I think we have, okay. So we have to go further. We have to go further. Regarding Europe, we have a history from Spain to Sweden, in former times also UK. Probably one day Norway will enter the European Union and Switzerland as well. So we have European rules establishing agriculture policy, and we will see the results of the negotiations, the details of the negotiations regarding risk management. One remark regarding risk management as such. We have instruments in the first pillar. In the second pillar at the moment, we have ideas from the European Investment Bank. Other ideas, probably we will have some single funds, and nobody knows exactly what does it mean for the future. So here I think we have to have a comprehensive approach, but taking into account the history of the insurance system in each member state of the European Union, we couldn't build up something quite new. We had this discussion already, I think, in the reform, Fischer reform in the 2000 years, establishing a new common framework of insurance. And the northern countries of the European Union said, no, we are not willing to pay all money to the south. And therefore, I think there should be a comprehensive approach, taking into account all this stuff. And the second one, and I think it's not a question of big or small insurance companies. It's a question of working together to find the best solution covering the climate risks. And it's not a question of parametric or loss-based insurance. I think it's learning from each history and what do we have as new instruments, tools, AI, satellite, weather data. There are a lot of data, but no insurance company produce all this data, and even not the farmers. And also, one, for me, very important approach is if a farmer gets high direct payments, and in case of loss, probably you could count off ad hoc payment in the end, you will never insure. And the other very important analysis we did is the transaction costs of insurance product out of the European Union. In several member states, you have a subsidy rate of 65%, in Italy, for example. But here, 20 to 25%, even more, goes of this premium subsidy goes to stakeholders within this process. And therefore, I think we have to go into detail, but to find a solution where the farmer understands in the end how the loss is calculated and when he will get the payment, when he had the loss. Not 2-3 years afterwards, but close to the loss, or even if he has no loss, then he gets the money when he's selling his products, fruit, vegetables, or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is maybe
And sorry, one last question. I would like also to invite all of you that we could collect the information then to spread to our insurance family. We think that we are kind of a bridge builder to the insurance farmers community.
Yeah, and a few flakes. I think the question of timing, this is the most important, like the elephant in the room, so to speak. Like, let's say everybody understands, like, the sooner the payment will be released, the better it will be, like, or the quicker will be, let's say, recovery or restoration of the business activities, and then the farmers could survive. Otherwise, they will just
Of course, it needs to be fast, but latest at the moment where he was supposed to get his money from his crop growing, if there had not been an event. So midsummer, hardly any farmer would have any payment, but in autumn when he's harvested, then he would get his money. So a farmer wants some insurance that is fast in the payout, that is cheap and understandable what he's got insured. And with that, especially as you said, he will not get insurance if somebody else is paying out. So if the government's paying out, he won't get it. So there needs to be clarity on what's a deep loss and what's a catastrophic loss, as both you were already mentioning. But let's keep an eye for what Demetrius was saying as well. If your house is on the line, yeah, you don't really care about ruling and relations, you just want your money.
And the second point about the role of IT This is also important because this is what we're doing with Raimund since, I don't know, already 5 years together. And this was also part of our research to speak, like how to combine innovative insurance solutions with IT exactly to better collect the data and to let's say quicker to ensure like the money will be released quicker to the farmers. But the space yet, you have remarked.
If we all have agreed on the delay of payment issue, I would be like the Switzerland and be more balanced and say, defend my colleague Lucas about parametric insurance because nobody pretends that it's the unique solution. It's one of the solutions existing, and it works actually. The payouts quite rapid, quick, and you can say that it's been implemented in developing countries. I can tell you in my previous life, I was another writer in the private reinsurance. We deployed parametric insurance and reinsurance in Kenya for Maasai warriors, in Ethiopia, for coffee beans, for cattle, etc. So maybe there is this, let's say, stereotype about, and even I'm not sure, because in France there is now this phenomenon of implementation of parametric insurance for 1 year. Maybe parametric insurance suffers from the stereotype that it's more for developing countries, but I can tell you that in France, recently there is a joint venture between Airbus and Willis Towers Watson with satellite images for 1 year. So it's coming. It's not a unique solution. It's one solution among many others. I still believe that prevention is not enough discussed in our forums. I am sad to see that, for example, the European Union is subsidizing 600 million euros for insurance, but nothing for prevention on agriculture. That's the reality. And
You want to comment? I think there are a lot of instruments, but I think it's a answer of the European Commission. I'm not the spokesman of.
No, wait. You get you. But I also wanted to say something also on parametric insurance first, because I think parametric insurance shouldn't be perceived like as a substitution of indemnity-based insurance, but more like a complementary instrument, and for different type of risks, meaning that the parametric insurance is really useful when it comes to, for example, drought and all those, let's say, covariate risks. So risks that when they happen, they are systemic and they affect multiple farmers at the same time. But for example, for hay, which could affect only like a specific farm or only like a specific parcel of the farm, then indemnity-based insurance is still maybe preferable. Because then it's like, from what I understood also, is that the advantage of parametric insurance is that you don't need to go like to do this like inspection, so farms by farms, and then so it reduces also the costs of this, and so it's very useful when it like the risks are affecting like a very very big share, like a big portion of land. And so that you don't need to like assess the losses at each farm. But for other types of risks, then like indemnity-based insurance could still be the optimal. And on the
So I think we need to find a better parameter or a better variable, because as a farmer, I'm asset rich but money poor. So I cannot afford to buy 5 different types of insurance for 5 different types of risk. And when I do my preventative measures, I want to be rewarded for that in my premium. So why don't we take a tool basically down to the farm and talk to that farm what he or she needs to protect that continuity. And that is a multi-peril kind of situation that poses a risk to he or her quantity, quality, and yield. And with that respect, when I think it was it Marcia, did you get the example of the text message with the 80% storm and yada yada yada? Well, in that case, that farmer is rewarded, because if you look at this variability to his revenue, if he closes his hail nets and therefore prevents a loss, his revenue over time will remain stable. So I would rather look at multi-year contracts, fixed benefit payouts like in parametric insurance, but not use a parameter that is a weather element, but a parameter that is actually on farm.
Yeah, and to Thomas now, and then to Lucas and to Linda. I see Lucas. So Thomas, you first.
I think there's not one insurance solution for all risks. And it depends also on the continents, on the countries, and on the risk, and on the crops. Regarding Europe, we are quite different than several other countries all over the world. In China, during the conference, I learned that 25,000 farmers attended online the conference. 25,000. And the company I'm working for has just 110,000 farmers insured in 10 European countries. So the figures are quite different. And I couldn't imagine to have a loss-based insurance in China for the risk they established and they're insured. But within Europe, and we get also requests from France to come up with new insurance solutions for vineyard growers, because the products which are in place actually didn't fit to the farmer needs, to the wine growers. There are other also reasons why the area of vineyards is decreasing, not only in France, but all over Europe, all over the world, depending, because we have this dry January, because the consumption of alcohol is decreasing. I think it's a good, but nevertheless, so there are also other factors which are responsible for the decrease of vineyard areas all over Europe. So regarding hail, for example, I think we have really good tools. We have also co-financed by the European Union investments, and every farmer would like to do everything so that a loss doesn't occur. So I have also, as a private person, insurance when I broke my, so for other reasons, so I wouldn't use my insurance. So I think it's quite the same. And local regional weather information is very important. I think we have a normal winter this year, 25-26. So I think at the moment, the risk for spring frost is lower than the last years, but nobody knows what will happen in February, March, and April. But in several regions all over Europe, there's a possibility to use water to irrigate frost coverage, but not all over Europe, not all over France, not all over Germany. And therefore, I think, as you said, yeah, well-adapted insurance for diversified risks, as you said also, but letting the freedom to the different markets and the market players. And to be also giving one example from Netherlands, the Dutch government said 8 years ago, I give the farmers and the insurance industry 16.5 million euros every year for establishing a public-private partnership. But the risk increased during this 10 years period, and the state said, no, I will not give more money to this public-private partnership. And in the end, who takes the risk? The insurance industry and the farmers. And I think here we have to find also in the future a balanced triangle between three partners, the farmers, the insurance industry, and the insurance industry means the first insurers and the reinsurance industry. We have examples from Brazil where farmers could not insure anymore against drought because some insurance companies got bankrupt caused to droughts 2 or 3 years ago. And this is not, I think, also the interest of the authorities in South America.
So then I'll pass the floor to Lucas and to Linda just to close up those remarks, and then we'll pass to the Q&A session. I know that, Lucas, you have very good insights into the topic of parametric insurance, drought, and then the stuff like this. So first, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add also to Marie, and I wasn't saying the parametric insurance is the only solution, and I very much agree that at the resilience part is very important. I think in the past, insurance companies kind of neglected the resilience part of the farming and just try to sell their insurance products. But now I think we can see there is the slight or light shift into the right direction. I don't know if you have seen that, but our colleagues from Swiss Sail, I think they just launched a program called Hail Adapt, translated. So they're offering to their clients a network of partners to learn out a resilience farming or resilient farming measures and other programs. So to improve the resilience in the first place. And secondly, as insurance companies, we are quite cautious, especially because we cannot be on the ground. It's on every farmer's field, so adverse selection is still a big problem. So I think there's still the need for more open data and collaboration between with the public sector and also maybe data owners like agricultural machinery companies who can provide the data, what's happening on the ground. But I think you know yourself that these data they're not very likely to be given out. So that's I think something you need to work on as well to get the data. So what's happening underground? What kind of measures is the farmer already implementing, and what can be rewarded from a pricing perspective?
Okay, thanks, Lucas. And yeah, and then over to you, Linda. I think you want to comment on resilience stuff. Yeah.
Well, also on the payment topic, I think that's a very important topic, and I didn't say that, but the taxonomy criteria actually also require that once a disaster has happened, the payments happen on a timely manner, they happen fairly, and they happen at a high standard of service, right? And so it would only be taxonomy allowed if you comply with these things. But there are also two aspects I think that are worth mentioning that are also expectations in the EU taxonomy for climate risk insurance, is that once a big hazard happens where there would be a lot of impacted entities and policyholders, is that the insurance company proactively provides information of how to access insurance payments, right? That they don't just sit there and wait for all these farmers to figure themselves out and how to do that they proactively engage and they provide that information. And the other aspect is also that once something like that has happened, that the insurance industry could play a role where they fulfill this advisory function of not restating things exactly as they were, and obviously they were vulnerable, but rebuilding back better, right? So if fields are damaged, the pastures are damaged, or assets, buildings are damaged, how do we build it back better instead of just building the same as it was before, to increase the resilience going forward and potentially, again, have some sort of reward or future insurance for those entities. So I wanted to share that, which was cycle that is also part of the sustainable finance framework in EU.
Okay, okay. So I think let's maybe close this round of remarks and let's move to the Q&A session. So please indicate yourself, raise your hand, and then I can come to you. Yeah, I can come to you closer, and you will have an opportunity to ask something. Yeah. Just.
Well, thank you. It was fascinating, the discussion. I was quite, tempted to ask you, Linda, why you said the parametric insurance is not the solution. But Sina mentioned about the agroseguros in Spain, which is one of the most robust agricultural insurance schemes. And agroseguros is based on trust. I mean, the key there is that the farmers do trust the system and is agile enough that they have to go through the evaluation of damage. They disclose the payments very fast. So the only concern that recently farmers are having is actually that the prices are strikes. And the reason for that is because there's been an increase in sinistrality due to mostly to climate change. So the point here is that we come to commonalities in the sense of parametric, non-parametric, which is actually prevention. So how to actually low the risk in terms of increasing sinistrality, increasing, let's say, hazards, right? So I think no one's doesn't fit all at all here. It may not be the sense of having several insurance schemes for the same farm, but rather having the proper scheme for each of the contexts. Let's say, no, in Spain this is working. We have to solve actually the issue of the hazards being increased and the primes, and how we could solve that either way by subsidies, because the scheme has the compensation, but also has the national agricultural insurance schemes that sets the price. And the difficulty for us is actually to increase this idea of linking the prime with the prevented measures you happen. That's where we have, I guess, to progress, because it's a solidarity system, and the compensation. I mean, the consortia is for all insurance, not only for agroseguros. It's for every single insurance reinsurance, right?
Yes. So thank you for that. And what I said about parametric insurance, that is the parameter, sorry, that is the one that counts. So what parameter are we focusing on? And if it's a weather peril, then you need several types of insurance. If it's something close on the farm, then you only need the one, and then it can work. It also relates to what you're asking about price. Price quite often is too high for farmers. So what drives price? Oh, price is driven by risk and by the cost of capital. And we need to stick to rules as an insurer as to how much capital we need to keep on in our accounts for when a disaster happens. Now, indemnity type insurance on something with climate is extremely expensive because, well, my country, the Netherlands, is like this big. So if something systemic happens, it happens to the entire country. So the amount of capital I need to have in my accounts is way too big and is calculated back into a premium. So by making it a fixed benefit insurance, I reduce my amount of potential payout, and I also reduce the amount of capital I need to stick to. So that reduces price. Also, it reduces my risk. Now, if we look at all the bright minds here and smartly discuss together and cooperate together and what actually poses barriers to something that is cheap and fast and easy to understand, I think then we can truly get somewhere.
I would also add that the price is also calculated if you decide to include the climate change parameters in your tool. If, for example, in our case, we decided to include the IPCC scenarios at CCR. You say no, but that's the case. It depends on if you believe more on RCP 4.5, 6.5, 8.5. So there is also this parameter. So cost of capital, the hazard, your historic losses,
Of course.
and climate change. You missed 2 points. In our sense, in our view, that you also have these two components. Regarding agroseguro, well, the system was built 50 years ago. That's the difference with France. But in comparison, we have the NatCat scheme established 44 years ago. So policyholders, private or individuals, they rely on the system the same way that your farmers, I mean, in Spain, rely on agroseguro because there is trust. That's the same, but for property. There was another point you discussed about prevention. Indeed, as I said previously, I regret that European funds are mainly or only dedicated for subsidizing policy insurance for farmers, and not there is no blend. There is no blend. Let's say 50% for subsidizing, 50% for helping in promotion of prevention, both for farmers or for properties. That's the reality. So for property at core, It's called at CCR since last year. I'm not going into details, but you have one reinsurance, it's a agreement called the quota share, which is a proportional system. The commission that the reinsurance is paying to the to the insurance companies is calculated on the level of prevention that the insurance companies is doing. So for us in France, prevention has a key role. I can give you another example. This year, we decided to engage with architects because from our point of view, we consider that what they are not building well, we will be paying at some point. So we, for example, decided to sponsor the French project at the Biennale of Architecture in Venice. And we engaged with the French architects saying that you also have to refuse to be in some parts of France because it's not sustainable anymore.
Okay, any further questions? Just please wait.
Now, I guess I have one comment on this last one because to refuse to build the path into the same place, this is a very prominent issue, but very difficult issue. There has been only few cases I know in Spain where there has been a banding to build in areas where were flooded. It links to the architects. There are some efforts actually to reconvert some areas in the city into floating infrastructures, right? This is emerging in the, these floated parks, for example. But we in Spain, believe me, it's been a catastrophe. Everybody knows, but the banding to rebuild is not acceptable. I think in Germany was similar for the floodings in the Arn river, right? I hear from a colleague in Germany that they only managed not to rebuild a school that was for disabled child, right? That was the only thing that they managed not to build in the same place. So it's a very sensitive issue. It's about planning. I think it's about the root is about planning. I mean, how you plan to prevent that this is not done in the first place. That's, I guess, something that we discuss as well with the head project. No, is how you redefine the planning for areas that are going to be reclassified for other uses. That's where I think we have to make a big effort.
So, Margarita, Thomas, you wanted to address, yeah?
No, I actually wanted to ask Sina, because I'm a bit confused when you say that the EU is not, let's say, supporting prevention, but because this is not really the case, because under the cap there's a lot actually of support for investments in preventive action, and also investments in supportive systems for building palm resilience, even more than for insurance, because the support for insurance is only 1% of the cap money. So maybe you wanted to say something different, but I don't understand why are you saying that there is no support for prevention under the cap.
Well, first of all, I'm not saying the farmers are saying. I'm not that smart person today, but the current I guess you know a little bit about the current context of farmers in France. They have been blocking France for 3 weeks, 4 weeks now. There will be the International Agricultural Fair in 3 weeks in France, which is the biggest agricultural fair in Europe. And they have a list of, let's say, requests, and this is one of them. So maybe the EU is doing, and what they're claiming is that they don't see the color of this money.
Yeah.
Which is another story.
Yeah, no, but of course, but no, it was just also to understand. Yeah, I mean, in the next cap, we're also envisioning to actually link, of course, prevention to insurance, and we want to understand how to build a more, let's say, resilient architecture, between risk management, crisis management, and prevention. But it was also to understand like why you received this.
Look, they have a list of requests. Mercosur, insurance premium tariff. They want the cheapest and more affordable premium. More prevention, less taxes, globally speaking. The list is long. There is this disease, this skin disease on cattle. Now in France, maybe in Europe. For example, they will not be allowed to exhibit their cows during this fair. So it has created a lot of drama. They've been demonstrating for 3 weeks, 4 weeks now in France. You don't know what is the priority, but one of them. So one reality.
So maybe the two less remarks and Axel from Thomas and from Linda, then we have to wrap up.
Another frauder is suppose, I mean, unfortunately, it's just this. So Thomas and Linda, yeah.
Yeah, from my experience, I think that the way how farmers in Europe expressing their position is quite different from one country to another on that. And I know from my studies in France and from my experience here in Brussels, the French farmers are the first going on the street and blocking. So it's a little bit different, but I think the farmers are centralized in the same way you expressed one thing. The other thing, I think it's up to us in Europe now to find the right way for a sustainable and resilient agriculture for the future. Now we are started the discussion of the future of the CAP, including risk management. And if I just look at the Spanish case, yeah, there are really good examples in the Spanish agro-seguro system, but from our internal analysis of the Spanish agro-seguro system, it's a little bit bureaucratic. And I think, if you look at the figures of the agro system compared to Austria, for example, where we are also quite similar, and the take-up in Austria, it's one of the best in Europe. It's very easy, simple, with really low transaction costs. And the other thing, which is very important for my personal perspective, is that farmers are entrepreneurs. So they have to adapt climate change. They have to change production. For example, in Germany, you find in every federal state no vineyards. So it's quite new. So 20, 30 years ago, it was not like this. And
We don't have one of the developments yet.
and we have olive trees already in Germany. And I think, therefore, in other parts of Germany, you couldn't still grow stone fruit because you have spring frost every second year. And here, the farmers have to adapt. And we as insurance industry say, sorry, we couldn't offer still this insurance product because it's up to you to adapt. And it's not up to the state to pay a top payment in case there's second year consecutive spring frost. And this we have also to tell, to inform, to train our farms and also to the next and young generation.
Okay, and Linda, over to you, and this will be our last remark.
Thank you. So I'll bring this back up to the high level, to what EU is doing, especially specifically on the prevention side. And I think it would be very, very useful for everyone in the REIT to pay attention what is happening with a new policy framework called the Integrated Resilience Framework that Europe is putting forward, and it's currently in public consultation. So you can go online on the EU public consultation webpage and provide your inputs on this Integrated Resilience Framework. And this integrated resilience framework is one part of it. It will be regulated. So there's going to be a regulation coming through, which will pretty much say that whenever EU is taking decisions, it's developing certain sectoral policies, or is making investment decisions or potentially procurement, climate risk will need to be taken into account as a mandatory requirement using a common reference scenarios for climate change assessments, right? So the more integration and mainstreaming of climate risk in every European decision is coming, and it's coming still this year. So I really recommend paying attention to what's happening there. Now, when I say sector policy, that does include agricultural sector policies, and we can expect maybe stronger mainstreaming of climate risk and prevention also in agricultural sector. Now, the other part of that framework, but also perceives the strengthening of the national adaptation strategies and actions, because there has been analysis that determined that a lot of these national actions currently have gaps. They have both action gaps, they have funding gaps, and so EU is determined to help improve that. So we will see better prevention and preparedness coming through that.
Yeah, huge mix. Yeah, if you want to contribute, please go to the I think the page of Martin Spock. So then he has this also reposted, so you can also find the link to this document, and you can contribute as well. Yeah, but other than that, I would like to thank you, Laura, for your patience. I owe you a break. So I thank you for the 10 hours for your great contribution for the